Yeah, 2 5-stars. Think about that. The thing to me was if we go back to camp, Dan Mullen said one, Emory Jones has a rocket arm. Dude never showed it all year. Dan Mullen said all camp, all summer, SEC media days, whatever, that he was going to use two backs in the backfield. He did that a little bit in the first game of the season against FAU and then never showed it again. We're talking about a running back group with Dameon Pierce, experience, Malik Davis, fifth-year senior, Bowman. It looked like he was really good in camp from the sounds of it, and Lingard. And Lingard and Bowman never played. So I don't know. Guys, if you have any more final questions or comments, go ahead and drop them now. When it comes to Florida in the game tonight between Central Florida, Central Florida comes out on top. The game meant more to them. As this is pretty much the epitome of what Florida season was like. Finished 6-7, barely got a bowl after beating FSU. They just weren't able to make plays on offense or defense. Offensively in the first half was really good. They were able to run the ball, and then they went away from it in the second half. If you're just joining us, I've continued to say that Pierce got no more than 10 touches in a game except for once against FSU all year. He had 8 touches in the first quarter, 3 in the second, and then 3 in the second half. Completely went away with that. Malik Davis got a couple of touches in the second half. That was fine. But, I mean, it was just no consistency. I mean, at the start of the game, Florida starts with 3 passes, and then they go 3 runs, and then they finally got something going. They led 17-16 middle of the second quarter, and then Central Florida hits a deep ball that was on Travis Johnson. When he fell, that gave Central Florida, I think it was 23-16. Penalties, yeah, Hudson. Penalties, 85 yards in penalties. The one thing that stuck out was Florida should have recovered the onside kick. Well, it wasn't really an onside, but it hits off the helmet of the Central Florida player on the front line at the 40. It rolls right past 3 Florida players, and then Florida gets a personal foul on Dexter, and then right after that, a pass interference. Not long after that, I think Central Florida ended up kicking a field goal, if I'm not mistaken. You just can't do that in these type of close games. And, when you add up the penalties, when you add up the missed plays, when you add up the big plays that Florida gave up, that's just not a recipe for success. As I think that'll do it. 11:30, past my bedtime. Kind of, sort of, not really. As this is about a 45-minute show. If you guys missed any of the show before, it's always archived at the SEC and the Gator channel. As this is the final one, the Gators final report, to wrap up the 2021 season. Not the season that Florida expected, but a lot of optimism going forward with Napier, and we'll see what Napier has in store going forward. Who was the hurt player? That was Justin Short. That was one of Florida's their big receivers. He got a couple of nice plays tonight. Only thing I know is that he was talking to the medical staff. They didn't really show him when he got hurt. They showed everything else around him. It didn't look good, but hopefully he's okay. That's the only status that there is right now. LSU fan Hudson again. He said he was really angry that UF got Napier. Yeah, Napier didn't even get an interview for LSU, so I'm really interested to see what that's like going forward, because Napier's a dude that was offered the South Carolina the Auburn. There was a couple other head coach. I think the Baylor job, possibly, if I'm not mistaken. And there was another SEC school that he did not take, that he was offered. He said he was waiting for the right opportunity. And pretty much even people in Louisiana knew that before Dan Mullen got fired and was let go, the Louisiana play-by-play voice, who has a pretty good relationship with Napier, said that when he saw Sanford scored 50-plus against Florida, he said that he knew that Napier was going to take that job. And Napier's not a guy that takes a job for money. Napier apparently is a dude that goes to fit, and hopefully this is a good fit for Napier. I mean, I can only imagine, speak for most Florida fans, that they're tired of coaches coming in and out of there every 4 or 5 years. When it's Meyer was there for 6 and won 2 titles, but then it's been Muschamp when he was there for 5, and then McElwain was there for 2.5, I think, and then Mullen was there for he's been 18, 19, 20, 3.5. You're getting a brand new facility that's supposed to open up in June. It's supposed to be state of the art, one of the best in the country. And keeping these recruits in state. Napier's done something. Napier did something in 10 days that McElwain, Mullen, and Muschamp couldn't do, and that's get a 5-star to IMG. Now, he gets credit for it, but really it's Corey Raymond, the DB coach, who was already talking to him when he was at LSU and then came to Florida. So that's going to be the biggest game, and it's going to be a lot harder to recruit in the state of Florida. You have Cristobal, who's an excellent recruiter. You can say what you want about his coaching style and what he was able to do at Oregon with wins and losses, but the dude can recruit. An isolated Pac-12 up in Oregon, he got Kayvon Thibodeau, the number 1 recruit in the country. So it looks like a lot of those guys down in Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach County are all going to stand in Miami like Cristobal was. And then you have Norvell. Norvell just had a really good recruiting class, even though Florida State went 5-7. That was really good for Florida State, and I hope it's like that. I'm not old enough to remember, but in the 90s, everybody in the state of Florida was trying to go to Florida State, Miami, and all those coaches were trying to grab all these players, and it was fun. It was competition. And now you have Ohio State coming in and snagging players like the Bosa brothers and the Sean Wades in Jacksonville, Tyreek Johnson, Crowley. Clemson's getting players. Alabama has gotten more 5-stars. Alabama's gotten more 5-stars since 2016 in the state of Florida than Florida State, and Miami combined. Hopefully that changes. I think it will. And people want to talk about parity and Alabama dominating, staying up top. It starts at home. Florida hasn't kept their guys at home. Florida State hasn't kept their guys at home. Miami hasn't kept their guys at home. If those 3 schools are able to do that, and obviously you can't keep all of them, but if you're able to keep a majority of them, I mean, if you circle, I'll just speak for Florida, a 150 mile circle around Gainesville, that's Jacksonville, that's Tallahassee, that's Tampa, that's Orlando, that's Daytona. I mean, that's pretty much more than half of the state, but that's all proximity. That's all dudes that are right there. And IMG, yes, they're not really a high school, but I mean, IMG is what? 2 hours from Florida? I mean, if it were up to me, I would have an assistant coach going there every single day. And it looks like that's changed a little bit since they got the safety, the 5-star. And the way the defensive backs have played from the safety position. Wilcox, I think that's his name. I literally lost my mind. Escaped my mind. He looked like he should be getting a lot of playing time from year one. Yeah. I just explained Saban having to stay out of Florida, getting more 5 stars on Florida, Florida State, and Miami combined. LSU and Florida, yeah, it'll be interesting to see that the format will change when Oklahoma and Texas go to the SEC, and that's going to be a lot sooner than later. I think the contract for Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12 is supposed to be like 25. That's when the contract is supposed to end. Oklahoma and Texas will both be in the SEC before then. It wouldn't surprise me if Oklahoma and Texas were in the SEC starting next year. And that happens one or two ways. The ADs go to Bob Bowlesby, the the Big 12 commissioner, and they do one of three things. They go, one, Oklahoma and Texas pay the buyout. Two, Oklahoma and Texas agree to a different buyout. Or three, the Big 12 lets Oklahoma and Texas walk. The only thing about the Big 12 with Oklahoma and Texas leaving is then the Big 12 is left with 8 teams, and then they're waiting for Central Florida, Houston, Cincinnati, and I forget the other team. Houston, Cincinnati, Central Florida. I think it's Memphis. So, correct me if I'm wrong. All going to the Big 12. And when does that happen? Because this whole thing about, Oklahoma dominating, they didn't win the Big 12 this year, but that's the only thing people keep talking about. What must be done eventually must be done immediately. And, if you're just going to let that hang over your head, just go ahead and do it and get it done with, because Oklahoma knows where they're going to be. Texas knows where they're going to be. And, that's what the future is going to be like. So, yeah,